All right, just moments ago, the indictment against President Trump's so-called classified documents case has officially been unsealed. Let's go through it together, point by point, and dissect exactly what this case is all about. And as we're going to go through this indictment, let's completely set aside, for the moment at least, the unbelievable situation where you have Joe Biden's administration prosecuting the frontrunner of the opposition party. Let's set aside the hypocrisy of Hillary Clinton facing no charges for doing something that was very similar to what President Trump is being charged with. Let's set aside the fact that both Joe Biden and Mike Pence were also found to have classified documents in their homes. And let's also set aside the fact that this indictment was coincidentally made public on the very same day that the FBI released evidence of Joe Biden's family receiving about $5 million from a Ukrainian gas company. Let's set all that aside for now and exclusively just go through the facts of this particular case as they are laid out in this 49-page document. And as always, if you appreciate non-biased content like this, well, I do hope you take a super quick moment to smash those like and subscribe buttons, and also maybe consider even leaving a little comment below this video in order to tickle the YouTube algorithm and have this information reach ever more people. Now, to start with, according to this indictment, at the tail end of it, President Trump, he is facing 37 criminal counts, including 31 counts of gathering, transmitting, or losing defense information, 1 count of conspiracy to obstruct justice, 1 count of withholding a document or record, 1 count of corruptly concealing a document or record, 1 count of concealing a document in a federal investigation, 1 count of scheme to conceal, as well as 1 count of making false statements and representations. And when you add up all the maximum terms of imprisonment for these 37 different criminal counts, you get a staggering potential prison sentence of 400 years. 400 years behind bars. Now, of course, the way that federal sentencing guidelines actually work means that President Trump would never get 400 years, but that is the maximum that federal prosecutors are shooting for. Furthermore, besides President Trump himself, another man named Walton Nauta is also a defendant in this particular case. And if you've never heard of him before, Mr. Nauta was initially President Trump's valet, who then transitioned into being one of President Trump's personal assistants. Here's, in fact, how this indictment describes Mr. Nauta, or as they refer to him as Trump's co-conspirator. Quote, Defendant Nauta was a member of the United States Navy stationed as a valet in the White House during Trump's presidency. Beginning in August of 2021, Nauta became an executive assistant in the office of Donald J. Trump and served as Trump's personal aide or body man. Nauta reported to Trump, worked closely with Trump, and traveled with Trump. And according to this indictment, Mr. Nauta is facing 6 felony charges as well, including conspiracy to obstruct justice, withholding a document or record, corruptly concealing a document or record, concealing a document in a federal investigation, scheme to conceal, as well as making false statements and representations. And then likewise, the maximum penalty for these 6 criminal charges would be 90 years behind bars. 90. Now that's all to say that these are serious charges that carry serious repercussions. Then, circling back to the beginning, let's actually go through the facts of the case as they are laid out here in the body of the indictment. And since it's a little convoluted, since the prosecutors jump from one day to another, the best way to understand what's actually happening is to put the events on a timeline. So the indictment says that between January 20th of 2017 and January 20th of 2021, meaning during President Trump's term in office, he would regularly collect things like newspaper clippings, different notes, cards, photographs, official documents, as well as other government materials, and keep those things in cardboard boxes that were stored around the White House. According to the indictment, among the items in these particular boxes were, quote, the classified documents that Trump stored in his boxes included information regarding defense and weapons capabilities of both the United States and foreign countries, United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response to a foreign attack. Then, the indictment goes on to say that on January 20th of 2021, when President Trump officially ceased being the President of the United States, he took a number of boxes with him to Mar-a-Lago in Florida. And notably, the indictment claims that President Trump himself was personally involved in packing up the classified materials. Allegedly, he was directing his personal aide, Mr. Walton Nauta, about which materials to take with them. And those materials were then transferred over to Florida. Then, allegedly, according to this indictment at least, President Trump kept these boxes in various locations around the Mar-a-Lago club, including in a ballroom, in a bathroom, in an office space, in his personal bedroom, as well as in a storage room. The indictment actually includes a number of photographs that allegedly show the documents being stored in several of those places, such as this photograph here, which shows the boxes stacked on the stage of a ballroom. This other photograph here, showing them inside of what looks like a bathroom, complete with a shower, as well as other photos showing boxes being stacked up in a storage room. Now, as you're looking at those photos, you might be asking, well, hey, Roman, how do we know that those photos are legit? And the answer is we really don't. However, that is what is being presented by federal prosecutors, and so that's what we're looking at. Regardless, the indictment goes on to say that on at least 2 different occasions in the year 2021, when President Trump was already out of office, he showed these documents to other people, notably other people without secret clearance. The first case was in July of 2021 at his club over in New Jersey. Here's what the indictment says, quote, "At Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, the Bedminster Club, during an audio-recorded meeting with a writer, a publisher, and 2 members of his staff, none of whom possessed a security clearance, President Trump showed and described a plan of attack that Trump said was prepared for him by the Department of Defense and a senior military official. Trump told the individuals that the plan was, quote-unquote, highly confidential and secret. Trump also said, quote, as president, I could have declassified it, and, quote, now I can't, but this is still a secret." Now, interestingly, the indictment actually contains in it a transcript of this alleged conversation that took place between President Trump, 2 of his staff members, as well as a writer and a publisher of a biography of Mark Meadows. And during the conversation, they were discussing a certain document which came out of the Pentagon during Trump's term in office, which discussed the possibility of attacking Iran. And while allegedly holding up the document in his hand, well, here's what President Trump said, quote, "I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. Look at this. This was done by the military and given to me." Then a Trump staff member chimes in and says, quote, "I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to." And at this point, President Trump finishes the sentence by saying this, "Declassify it." Then President Trump continues, "See, as president, I could have declassified it. Now, I can't, but this is still a secret. Isn't that interesting?" And so the indictment claims that transcript is evidence that President Trump was aware that the document that he was holding in his hand and showing to the people in his room was in fact still classified. Then about a month later, in either August or September of that same year, in August or September of 2021, the indictment goes on to say that this happened, quote, "At the Bedminster Club, Trump showed a representative of his political action committee who did not possess a security clearance a classified map related to a military operation and told the representative that he should not be showing it to the representative and that the representative should not get too close." All right, I'd like to take a super quick moment and introduce the sponsor of today's episode, Gundry MD, which is an awesome company founded by Dr. Stephen Gundry, a cardiologist, a heart surgeon, as well as the director for the Center of Restorative Medicine. And Dr. Gundry's big thing is to educate the public about a certain condition called leaky gut, which according to his research is largely caused by a toxin that comes into people's bodies when they eat all of this quote-unquote healthy food, the exact types of food that they have been taught to eat by the fraudulent food pyramid. And by the way, just as an aside, outside of this ad, the food pyramid that's been pushed onto this country by the federal government for the last 5 or 6 decades is indeed quite fraudulent, but that's a bigger topic for another day. Now, leaky gut syndrome is something that millions of Americans experience every single year. And some warning signs of it include things like weight gain, fatigue, problems with your digestive tract, stiff and achy joints, and even certain types of skin problems. And while a lot of those just sound like the normal signs of aging, according to Dr. Gundry, it's easy to conflate the signs of a leaky gut with just the normal signs of aging because leaky gut takes a long time, sometimes several years to actually develop. And so people often conflate the two. However, according to Dr. Gundry's research, you can actually fix the problem at its root if you know which exact toxins in which exact foods are causing it. And so if you'd like to learn more about this leaky gut condition, as well as Dr. Gundry's research into what's really causing it, you can simply head on over to gutcleanseprotocol.com/Roman. That's gutcleanseprotocol.com/Roman and watch the video that Dr. Gundry put together. It's a free video that Dr. Gundry put together where he goes point by point through all of his research. The link to it will also be down in the description box below. Dr. Gundry, thank you so much for sponsoring this episode. And now let's head on back to the studio. Now, notably, both of these 2 alleged incidents took place at Trump's golf resort over in New Jersey, not Mar-a-Lago. And so the implicit implication here is that President Trump transported some of these documents from Florida over to New Jersey. Now, during this same general period of time, which is late 2021, the National Archives and Records Administration was going back and forth with President Trump's team requesting the return of these documents. Eventually, by January 17th of 2022, President Trump's team had actually returned 15 boxes to the government, which contained a total of 197 documents. However, the National Archives and Records Administration, they were not satisfied with only 15 boxes. And so you fast forward to March of 2022, and the indictment goes on to say that this is when the FBI officially opened a criminal investigation into this whole classified documents situation. Then, about a month later, in April of 2022, a grand jury issued a subpoena, which required President Trump to turn over all the documents in his possession that had classification markings on them. Then, a month later, in June of 2022, one of President Trump's attorneys provided the FBI with 38 more documents, which all bared classification marking. However, despite them handing over some of these documents and adding a padlock to the storage room, the indictment here paints a different picture. That's because at this point, which is around June, July of 2022, the indictment claims that President Trump, quote, endeavored to obstruct the FBI and grand jury investigations and conceal his continued retention of classified documents. Then the indictment actually lays out 5 different things that they claim President Trump did. They are as follows, quote, 1. Suggesting that his attorney falsely represents to the FBI and to the grand jury that President Trump did not have documents called for by the grand jury subpoena. 2. Directing defendant Waltine Nauta, who is of course the personal assistant, to move boxes of documents to conceal them from Trump's attorney, the FBI, and the grand jury. 3. Suggesting that his attorney hide or destroy documents called for by the grand jury subpoena. 4. Providing to the FBI and the grand jury just some of the documents called for by the grand jury subpoena while claiming that he was cooperating fully. And lastly, 5, causing a certification to be submitted to the FBI and the grand jury, falsely representing that all documents called for by the grand jury subpoena had been produced, while knowing that, in fact, not all such documents had been produced. And so then, using these 5 points as the justification, if we go back to the timeline, on August 8th of last year, the FBI very famously raided President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home and took away with them 102 more documents that had classification markings. According to this indictment, the documents taken during the raid, they were found in both the storage room as well as in President Trump's personal office. In fact, here's a chart from the indictment showing that 27 documents were taken from Trump's office, which bared the top secret, secret, and confidential markings, while another 75 documents were taken from the storage room, and they all likewise contained the markings of top secret, secret, and confidential. And so this is broadly the details of the indictment as well as the backstory of these 37 charges. Although again, there are about 49 different pages to this indictment, and so we skipped around a little bit, but generally these are the details of the case. Now, after this indictment was made public, President Trump came out and he released a short video in which he both proclaimed his innocence as well as labeled this indictment as just the next iteration of political persecution that has been lobbied against him. Here's a short snippet from President Trump's video.
Our country is going to hell, and they come after Donald Trump, weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI. We can't let this continue to go on because it's ripping our country to shreds. We have such big problems, and this shouldn't be one of them. It's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax, just like Russia, just like the fake dossier was a hoax. You saw the Durham report. You saw the Mueller report. It was all a big hoax. You had 2 impeachments, and they lost, and we won. And we had tremendous support. But that was a hoax and a scam. And now they're doing it again. It's just a continuation, 7 years, even after I'm out. But it's called election interference. They're trying to destroy a reputation so they can win an election. That's just as bad as doing any of the other things that have been done over the last number of years, and especially during the 2020 election. So I just want to tell you, I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong. And we will fight this out just like we've been fighting for 7 years. It would be wonderful if we could devote our full time to making America great again. And that's exactly what we did. But now, again, our country is in decline. We're a failing nation. And this is what they do. I'm an innocent man. We will prove that again. 7 years of proving it. And here we go again. Very unfair. But that's the way it is. I just want to thank everybody.
Now, in terms of the next step in this case, well, President Trump is due to appear at a courthouse in Miami, Florida this upcoming Tuesday, which is June 13th. Now, let me know in the comments section below this video if you would be interested in having me go to the courthouse myself on Tuesday in order to interview both the inevitable Trump supporters who will show up, as well as the Trump opponents who will be gathered outside the courthouse. And who knows, maybe we'll be able to catch President Trump himself when he walks into the building, or at the very least, we'll be able to catch his lawyers. Now, I'm personally a little bit on the fence about going, but perhaps if enough people are interested and leave their comments in the comment section below, that'll push me over the fence and I will book my tickets. So leave your comment section below this video and let me know what you'd like. Furthermore, if you are interested in reading through this indictment for yourself, which is quite interesting, again, it's 49 pages laid out point by point, I'll leave a PDF version of it. The link to it will be right there in the description box below. And then lastly, as I mentioned in the body of today's episode, a little while ago, I had the opportunity to actually interview one of President Trump's lawyers myself. She was involved in the back and forth with the FBI that are described in this indictment here, and she was also the one at Mar-a-Lago during the raid who was dealing with the FBI as they were combing through President Trump's personal belongings. If you'd like to check out that phenomenal interview, you can do so over on EpochTV, our awesome no-censorship video platform. The link to that interview between myself and President Trump's lawyer, it'll be right there at the very, very, very top of the description box below. Just click on that link, and you can head on over to EpochTV and watch that interview in its glorious entirety. And then, until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed. Most importantly, stay free.